I spent one Sunday afternoon hacking on a new feature for the Pinterest Android app. I was able to launch it in a week. I wrote a blog post about it, and it got covered in a bunch of different press outlets. This feature quickly got thousands of users, and for that performance cycle, I received the top rating. Throughout my time as a tech lead at Pinterest and Meta, I've coached hundreds of engineers, and I actually built an app out of that called Taro. Join Taro.com, check it out. But one of the most common complaints I hear is that software engineers have a really hard time finding interesting projects and building the scope they need to justify a promotion. In this video, I'll talk about finding and building your own scope. Here's how 4 hours of work in one afternoon translated to a huge impact and how you can do something similar. The year was 2017, and I had been an Android engineer at Pinterest for a few years now, and Google had just announced Android 7.1 Nougat, and they had this new thing called Android App Shortcuts, which is a way that you could quickly reach particular spots in an Android app. At the time, I also regularly listened to a podcast called Fragmented, which is by Don Felker and Kaushik Gopal, and they talked about various new things in the Android ecosystem. So one of the episodes was about app shortcuts. I was always hacking on various side projects, and so for one of them, I decided why not go ahead and try to add this new feature, app shortcuts, into the app and see how it goes. The app was a toy project for me. It had a couple hundred users on the Play Store, and it was completely built by me, so it was very low stakes. It took me about an hour to go ahead end to end and add app shortcuts, and it was a pretty cool feature. Based on that, I wanted to now add app shortcuts into the Pinterest app, which was more challenging because the app was obviously much larger, and I had to worry about making it more robust with things like internationalization, things I never did in a side project. Even so, it wasn't that challenging, and within about 4 hours, I had a functional version of app shortcuts in the Pinterest app. I just made a decision about what I thought would be the places to deep link into the app, and I put it out for review on that Sunday evening. Within a week, I had the tech lead on my team on board, and the code was approved, and the only challenge was to get the product manager aligned. And for him, he was also excited about it. There was no real additional work to be done because I had already done it, and there was no cannibalization of other features. Like, this app shortcut definitely wouldn't be hurting the use or functionality of any other feature. And so he gave the approval, and he actually looped in someone from marketing. Now, with marketing involved, they actually wanted to use this as an opportunity to showcase how forward-thinking and innovative Pinterest was for adopting all these new features that Google and Android were coming out with. They wanted to release a blog post, which I would author, and I put author in quotes here because what actually ended up happening is that someone from the Pinterest marketing team or comms team wrote something for me. They gave it to me to approve, and they just published it with my name on it. I actually didn't write any of it. It was really cool that this whole thing happened in the course of 2 weeks, and my manager actually called out this project in particular for demonstrating next level impact. I wanted to call out 3 lessons here that I think everyone can benefit from. First, you should carve out time where you're unencumbered by the process and the noise of working within a team at a medium or large tech company. There's so much benefit to just trying things out and prototyping on your own. For example, if you're working on a meaningfully sized app, one of the most common complaints from a mobile developer will be, it takes so long for my change to actually get built and deployed, right? Like, I remember there was a time at Pinterest where making a color change or a string change on a button, it would take 5 minutes for me to compile it and deploy it to an emulator, which is really unbearable. Like, it takes so long to get anything done. And so it's worth just spending an hour or two building up a mini version of the Pinterest app, or building a completely new project from scratch and rapidly making changes and trying out things over there. Second, allocate some time every month where you can become aware and learn about what is happening in your ecosystem. Have conversations with coworkers about what they're excited about, follow the relevant tech blogs, listen to a podcast, attend a conference. There's so many ways for you to stay up to date about all the changes that are happening in the world of tech. As an engineer, your job is to innovate. And the way you innovate is by understanding what are the recent changes and possibilities that are enabled by the platform or the tools that you're working with. Staying up to date with what companies and people are thinking about can be challenging, especially if you're hybrid or remote, which is why we built Taro. Taro is a premium membership for ambitious software engineers to accelerate their career. So you can kind of think of it like a job optimization service. Think about it like a way to understand what other engineers are concerned about or thinking about. And if you work at a top company like Meta, Coinbase, or Stripe, you can actually get the cost of Taro Premium reimbursed using your learning budget. So it's actually free. The third takeaway here is to bias toward action to build your own scope. For the app shortcuts project at Pinterest, I not only did the work to implement it, but I also made sure to add a screenshot, I added a video demo, and I included some background about what the feature was and why it was interesting. I also made it really clear in my pull request that the only thing I needed was some design help to get the appropriately sized icon. By doing all that legwork, the question shifted from why should we do this to why should we not do this? And that was, I think, a big part of why I was able to get sign off on this and ship it within a week. Code speaks louder than PRDs. Finally, one meta point I want to make is that it's really important to write down these stories as you accumulate them in your career so you can easily refer back to them and you don't forget any of the details. And this becomes really valuable when you're interviewing. For example, in 2017, I interviewed at a bunch of companies, and every company will typically have a core set of values. And what you can do is take your project that you have a lot of detail and thoughts about and mold it into laddering up to one of those values. So for example, at Airbnb, which is where I interviewed, they have a value called be a serial entrepreneur. And I was able to talk about how this project showed that I was taking initiative, I was dynamic enough to find opportunity and implement something for it. And I think that was a big part of why I was able to get the offer, because I was able to show how the work I did fit into those companies' priorities and values. That's all I had. I'd love to hear from you about how something you hacked on actually turned into something that was shipped, or how did you actually find the scope of work to justify a promotion if you're going up the IC ladder. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.